Good to everyone. This is Awesome Radio, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU. You are tuned into the Glenn Johnson Show. So I want to thank you and say blessings to everyone, to all of our listening audience that's listening on the broadcast throughout the nation, via the World Wide Web, and our listening audience here locally in eastern North Carolina, in particular Pitt County area. Today we have an exciting topic that is seasonal allergies, allergy types and symptoms, adrenaline, and epinephrine, and being anaphylaxis. Also, we're going to include iodine. That's very important. And before we end the broadcast, I'm going to have my co-host, Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams, ask me a couple of questions because I am very prone to a lot of different allergies. I have almost every allergy known to man. So with that being said, let me just introduce my co-host. Here's Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams.
Hey, Dr. Glenn, and to our listening audience on today. We are glad to be here with this subject and this topic, and I'm actually excited to hear about Dr. Glenn's allergies at the end of the show and see just what's going on there. But we're going to give you some good information today. We're also going to give you a few home remedies for allergies too. And we know that this time of season, especially coming into the fall, there are a lot of people that suffer with allergies, and I myself am one of them. There's a lot of people, in different seasons, they suffer differently. There's some that usually suffer in the wintertime, in the summertime. And now that we're coming into the fall of the year, there's a whole switch of a different group of people that suffer from fall allergies. And so we're going to give you some good information on today and talk about let's first define what is an allergy, what causes an allergy, and what actually is happening in the body is your immune system is fighting something. When you're dealing with seasonal allergies, your immune system is trying to fight off a substance you're sensitive to by releasing histamine, which leads to unpleasant symptoms. And those symptoms could vary from person to person, which could include those watery eyes, the runny nose, the sneezing, and eventually it can go into sinus infections and different throat problems, breathing issues. So there's a lot to cover here when we're talking about allergies and seasonal allergies. Dr. Glenn?
And I'm glad you mentioned that because before you get to the things that you're going to ask me, I would like to point out one thing you just mentioned, and that is a lot of times you can be stricken with allergies during the summer or the spring or the winter, fall and winter. But for me, my allergies are year round, mostly occurring in the summer. But I do have allergies in the winter, but it depends on what I become in contact with. And I don't necessarily have to touch it. It can just be in the air. For instance, like in the winter, a Christmas tree, a live Christmas tree. If I'm over somebody's house, and I try to not to be over somebody's house, if they have a live Christmas tree during the Christmas season, particularly if it's indoor and it's hot in their house, I would immediately break out in hives, start sweating. My skin will feel like it's 3,000 degrees. I just get real sick. I cannot be around a live Christmas tree, any kind of Christmas ornaments, if it's live and it's hot now in a particular place. So I want to point that out. And a lot of other people are the same way. We're going to get to some more things about myself that I have experienced as we progress during the broadcast.
Yes, and we're going to talk about some causes of these winter allergies here. And I mean, some of the things you're going to recognize. But I want to say to you, if you're sneezing, that is a definite sign that you can be fighting allergies. And a lot of times we don't pay attention to our body. Pay attention to your body. Your eyes are watering. If there's a certain scent that is in a place all the time, or you're coming into a certain place and then suddenly you start sneezing. There could be something there that's being used or that's in the air of that particular environment that is causing your allergies to be triggered.
And for people that's unaware that they might be affected by an allergy, because they might seem to think I think I'm coming down with a cold because some of the symptoms are similar. you might think you have a cold, but you might have an allergic reaction to something. I have experienced that myself, so that's another thing to be on safeguard about.
Definitely, Dr. Glenn, and I suffered from this just last week, the very same thing. And I thought I had, I thought I had COVID, and I've never tested positive or had COVID. But I mean, I thought I had all the symptoms, and it really just boils down to, sinuses being infected and different things from not taking the allergy medicine or not looking after, paying attention to when I sneeze. And I just want to say to, our listening audience, when you are sneezing a lot, you got to pay attention to it because you're fighting it and your body may need something to help it. You may need some allergy medicine just to help you fight that. And I tend to ignore it. I may sneeze 5, 6, 7 times. And then I tend to ignore it. And then I can always count it down. Within the next couple of weeks, there I go with the runny nose and I have the cold symptoms. And it's not even a cold, it's just basically allergies and sinus being affected by the allergies. Dr. Glenn?
I want to point something else while you're on that subtopic, and that's to our young females, in particular females, but to our younger females that has a lot lack of knowledge about allergies. Because I recall that this is when I worked at a hospital in New Jersey. A young lady, apparently, she must have thought she had a cold sore on her lip. So what did she do? You know, there's kind of lip balms and stuff for stuff like that. But she used like a what do you call them? The things, lip gloss. That lip gloss contained chemicals. So since she had that thing on her lip, which wasn't a cold sore, it was more or less an allergy something. She put the lip gloss on it, got her whole entire lip infected. You should have saw how swollen her lip was. And I don't want to make anybody sick, but it was just running and dripping with fluid. But her lip was swollen up like a banana because she put that lip gloss on instead of some kind of antibiotic cream or something.
Wow. And I've seen people do that too, Dr. Glenn, with you're allergic to the eyelash glue and their eyes are all red and they're still wearing the lashes. And I myself ended up with the pink eye from one of our local places here. They gifted me doing my eyelashes, and next thing you know, I had pink eye. And I did call them and tell them about that too, because I felt some kind of way. I never had pink eye, and I'm this old, and then now I've gotten it from a lash place. That really, I was a little warm about that one, Dr. Glenn.
I understand. I understand absolutely.
So I want to say to people to pay attention to our audience today, to pay attention to your body. If you're breaking out from something, start looking to see what's going on with your skin. And as Dr. Glenn talked about the young lady using the lip balm and continuing to use it when she was showing signs, go to the doctor and see what's going on. And sometimes look and see if you made any changes. Because sometimes laundry detergent can do it.
Yeah.
You've bought a new kind, they're advertising this new fancy detergent, and now you've went and bought it and you're itching all the time.
Well, her lip was such in a bad state that when she put that lip gloss on, that's exactly where she ended up at the hospital, in the doctor's office. Well, not only in the doctor's office, but at the hospital. They had to admit her to get her situation straightened out. That's how bad it was.
And you can, end up with infection, as we just talked about.
Yeah.
It'll go from allergies to an infection or something on your skin. If it's you breaking out and you're getting sores and those type of things, don't play with that. Go and find out what's going on.
Yeah.
You can also go and have an allergy test or
Yeah.
see an allergist.
Yeah, that's when they do the skin pops.
Yes.
I had one done, and everything they put in my back swelled up. My whole entire back was swollen up like a marshmallow.
Wow, Dr. Glenn. We're getting ready to go out on our first break, and we want you to come right back with us. Come on and let's get some more information about allergies on today. We're looking forward to you. We're going to ask you to call in if you want. The number is 252-756-2008. Again, that number to the studio is 252-756-2008. Call in and you'll be live on the air with us, and you can tell us about your allergies or share with us some good story or something that we need to hear concerning it on today, and we'll put you right on the air. This is Awesome Radio. We want you to come on right back with us and hang on in here for a second.
Back in a moment, ladies and gentlemen.
My name is Jayla, and you're to see to my papa, Glenn Johnson.
You're listening to Awesome Radio, WECU 107.5 FM, 1570 AM. Christian media with the spirit of excellence.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivations with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams. I see Apostle Williams has some things highlighted sitting in front of her. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it right back over to her to continue the topic on allergies, symptoms of allergies, and things of that nature. Apostle.
Yes, we want to just give you a few things of the cause of the fall allergies. And so the document is 8 common symptoms of fall allergies, causes and treatment. But we're just going to give you a few of them. And one of them, I think we don't notice it has happening around us all the time. You know, it's the fall time of the year, and we see that the leaves are turning brown and they're falling off the trees. This is a time of the year where I believe that it's absolutely beautiful outside. When you start seeing the colors changes and they're turning red and they're turning brown and they're turning yellow, and we start thinking about wintertime or thinking about Thanksgiving and thinking about harvest, but we're in that season where it's also rainy too at times. We've got rain and then we've gotten dry again and then the leaves are crumbling. And one of the things that is, especially when it comes to the leaves that we have to look at is mold. And this is one of the leading causes of allergies at this time of year is mold. And so when we see those leaves, they're falling off the tree, they're piling up in different places. I mean, if you ride down the street, you'll see leaves on the curb. You'll see them, in the ditches. You'll see them all over the yards. And as they are piling up and they begin to decay, there's mold in those leaves.
That's right.
And that is what is being released into the air. And a lot of times we don't see that, but that is one of the leading causes of allergens at this time of year. Dr. Glenn?
It's mold. And you might track that mold inside of your house. But what you want to be concerned about is not only the regular mold, that greenish kind of mold, because you can get some warm water and bleach, and that'll kill the mold. But if it converts and turns into black mold, then it's life-threatening. You cannot be around black mold whatsoever. And this is why they have an EpiPen for people that's having a severe case of allergies. They might want to inject themselves with an EpiPen. But I have an EpiPen. But now I'm concerned about even using it because I know once you inject yourself with an EpiPen, you immediately got to go to the emergency room. But what I also found out about an EpiPen, one of my brothers has a girlfriend, and a relative of hers had to inject herself with an EpiPen. And the EpiPen is considered adrenaline. That thing will have your heart racing. And she said her family member did that, injected herself, and she could actually see her heart beating through her chest. So now I'm very leery about using an EpiPen. Although I have one, after hearing that, I don't think I'm going to use it.
Yes, so it says that these spores can cause, they can aggravate asthma and cause heavy breathing. So
Yeah.
sometimes when you're outside, you may not even understand why you're breathing harder outside, and it could be just the mold that's in the air, the spores that are coming through.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Jackie, because the fact that you're breathing harder, that's an indication you might be almost going into respiratory arrest. Respiratory arrest is affecting your breathing, like cardiac arrest affects your heart, but you might be going into respiratory arrest, which will also kill you.
and you hear yourself wheezing and you're out there, you definitely need to get that checked out because that's an upper respiratory symptom.
Right.
In those molds, and it could be coming from mold and it's causing allergies in your
Yeah.
body.
And you don't want that mold inside your lungs because that's going to create a catastrophic problem. So you want to try to avoid mold, the regular mold, particularly the black mold. Black mold will absolutely kill you.
Definitely. And so some of the fall allergy symptoms are itchy and watery eyes, irritated eyes, runny nose, nasal congestion, sneezing, headaches. Definitely headaches come with it. That's one of the first one of the major symptoms is a headache. If you're continuing to have a headache, then you need to check it out and see if it's allergies.
And that's one of the things I want to get to you when you get to ask me the questions. One of the things I want to point out about the headaches is my younger brother will always come home from work. He's an engineer with the state of New Jersey. He will always come home from work. He will call me and say, man, I got a migraine headache. I don't want to talk. I can't talk right now. I said, I'm like, George, why you keep having all these big major headaches, migraine headaches? But I went to his house one day. I said, I know exactly why you're having these headaches. Because you have those plug-in air fresheners. I said, I guarantee you, if you remove those from your house, you will no longer have headaches. He listened to it, took it to heart. I said, because you know I got all kinds of allergies. And that's one of the main things, scents and fragrances, particularly ones that plug into the wall. He got rid of them all. Haven't had a headache since.
Definitely that, and as we spoke earlier, do check those things out because sometimes it's the fragrance that's right there that's around you that you're using all the time,
Yeah.
and you haven't paid attention that you're allergic to that, and your headache is coming every time you come home. You have a headache. A lot of times, people try to blame that on their spouse. As soon as I get home, I get a headache. It may not be your spouse. It may be the fragrance that she's wearing,
Yeah,
or the fragrance that he's wearing, or the air freshener that's in the house.
that's absolutely true because we still going to talk about this when you get to me. But one thing I'll point out about that is when I was younger, and I always get church for church on Sunday. I had to go to church with my mom because my mom was my grandfather's daughter, of course. My grandfather was a minister. But I would get my suit on. My neck would be itching so bad, I was scratching all the way down to the white meat. So now my neck is bleeding, and she got to cover my neck up with a handkerchief as I get prepared to get dressed, put my suit on for church. And people at the church looking and looking, what is wrong with him? And only when I became after after my teenage years, I found out I was actually allergic to the perfume that my grandma was putting on as she got dressed for church, putting on that hot karate and all that high potent stuff was tearing me apart.
Yeah, and we know, Dr. Glenn, those older ladies' perfumes, some of that stuff can be so loud. I mean, you can smell them as soon as they get out the car.
Yeah, and hers was loud. If you could see it, hers was so loud. Stevie Wonder could see it.
Well, and I know, from being there, that they definitely that is the truth. And some of those perfumes, definitely when you touch them, they can cause your skin to break out. They can cause you to itch, like you said, in hives and different things. And that is another one that we want to talk about as the symptoms is rashes and hives on the skin, itchy throat, aggravated asthma symptoms,
Yeah,
including a cough and wheezing.
and before you move on, I just want to say because of what you just mentioned, and that's one of the things we want to point out. Just because it doesn't bother you, doesn't mean that it's not bothering somebody else. Because it might be bothering that person, but they just don't know exactly what it is yet. Because you might tell them, well, look, it's just you. I'm not having no effect. That's just you. You might not have an effect where that other person might have a catastrophic effect.
Definitely, Dr. Glenn. And I know in my household, we have that issue, personally. because my husband likes the loud detergents, and those particular things make me itch. So I can't use those loud detergents all the time. But he can. He loves them. He loves the loud fragrance on the clothes. And I just have to go buy the cheap stuff or something that doesn't have a fragrance
That's what happens.
so that I
Fragrances.
can keep
Yeah,
myself from itching from it, you know?
that's right. You know what's like kryptonite to me? I hate to give out this product name, but I'm going to do it for the sake of the broadcast. Irish Spring soap. I don't touch it or anything. I don't use it as long as it's in the air while I'm around. I would just have an awful allergic reaction, and I might want to pull out my EpiPen for something like that. That's how sick I get from being around Irish Spring soap.
Definitely, those particular soaps that have a loud fragrance, I also cannot use them because they will dry my skin out. And I not only will be dry, but I will be itchy at the same time. And so we're getting ready to go out on another break here. We want you to come right on back with us and hear some more things about allergies. We have some more things that we want to inform you about, even some home remedies and some questions for Dr. Glenn at the end of our segment here. So we want you to stay interested. We want you to hang on with us. This is Awesome Radio. You can also call in at 252-756-2008. Right back in a moment, Awesome Radio.
You're listening to the That's jashow.org.
Hello, my name is Daniel out of Greenville. Thank you for listening to Awesome Radio 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU.
We're back. You're listening to The Glenn Johnson Show. You can reach Glenn at glennjohnsonshow@gmail.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show here on Awesome Radio, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU, Christian media with the spirit of excellence. And I think we are down to our final 30 minutes of the broadcast. So let's go right back over to Apostle Jackie because I definitely wanted to get to the questions I had prepared for her to ask me.
Dr. Glenn, are you sure we don't want to go out to one of our audio segments right now? And we'll get that after.
Yeah, let me have the engineer go to one of our first audio clips. Engineer.
So what are fall allergies? When are they? Well, actually, for most people, they begin around the middle of August and will go until it gets cold after you've had a couple of frosts. And for a good part of the country, that's due to something like ragweed, so late summer weeds. Certainly, there are other things such as mold spores, which also tend to peak out in the late summer and fall. And sometimes it can be confusing as to who has what. If you're really sensitive to a weed like ragweed or another late summer pollen such as the tumbleweeds, or if you're sensitive to mold spores. So any of those could be a problem around that time of year. So the symptoms of hay fever are usually primarily nose. So the nose runs profusely sometimes. You're sneezing your head off. You're having to blow your nose constantly. Your nose itches. But it may be other things as well. Your eyes may itch. The eyes may water. They're bloodshot. Your ears itch. The back of your throat may itch. All of those things can be part of really bad allergic rhinitis or hay fever. I guess it makes sense that if you're just trying to see what would work, is that you first start with an over-the-counter antihistamine. And there are certainly ones now that don't make you tired that are over the counter, and that's a good place to start. But if that doesn't do, which it frequently won't for people that really have bad symptoms, then you need to talk to your doctor. The allergist also has other things in his pocket that are going to be very helpful. For one, he knows what's out there and what's likely to be causing the problems, knows what's in the air at a particular time of year, and so he has a better understanding of that. He can go ahead and do the appropriate evaluation, whether that's skin testing or something of that nature, and then have a better feel for where to go from there. And so for more difficult to control symptoms, it's very appropriate to see an allergist and get evaluated by an expert. Allergy shots or immunotherapy, allergen immunotherapy, is a useful thing to do. It's useful not only because it helps with your symptoms, but it's truly what we call disease modifying. It actually makes you less allergic, whereas all the other stuff just kind of treats the end symptoms or cuts down on some of the allergic inflammation, but nothing makes you less allergic except for allergy shots.
Thank you, engineer, for that. And while we're on that part, now when I was mentioning earlier that fall allergies during the wintertime, particularly Christmas time, that affects me is live Christmas trees. And I was just looking at a part, Christmas trees and wreaths. While Christmas trees themselves may not be the source of allergic reactions, they can harbor mold spores and microscopic allergens and even sap and pollen. And I do believe it is that thick, almost like a honey sap that comes out of the tree, and the fact that it's that fragrance that it gives off. What do you call it? Evergreen.
Yes.
Yeah, it gives off that scent, and that just makes me terribly sick.
Yes, and it said, Dr. Glenn here, that before you bring the tree in, that you need to hose it down. We never heard of that. You just cut the tree down and you bring it in. And, not thinking, a lot of times, this came from outside. It's been living outside for years. And, of course, sometimes when you cut certain things, it sends off defenses or certain things loose, certain plants. When you cut them, they can send off a defense. That's what happens with onions. When you're cutting them, the juice of it is starting to come out.
Yeah.
So that could definitely happen with these trees and different things. But it said to wash it down. You should hose the tree down, let it sit in the sun to dry, or use a leaf blower to eliminate the pollen and as many spores as possible. If there are no small children or pets, a mixture of bleach and water can be sprayed on the foliage without harming the tree. I didn't know you could put bleach and water on a tree.
Yeah, well, like I said, usually warm water, period, with bleach will kill any kind of bacteria or allergen, particularly mold. But I want to point out another thing. While I'm allergic to nuts, like cashews, walnuts, and almonds and stuff like that, I am not allergic to peanuts. And that's because peanuts grows in the ground. All the other nuts are tree nuts, and those are the ones I'm allergic to. Just like I'm allergic to the Christmas tree, I'm allergic to tree nuts. Figure that out.
So, Dr. Glenn, we're going to go over to you. And finally, since you're digging in and telling us and didn't wait for me to give you the questions, I'm going to give you the questions now. Let's go, Dr. Glenn. Tell us about these allergies that you have. I see on here that it says that you're especially allergic to oysters.
I cannot eat any kind of seafood except for fish. If it's fish, it's whiting. It has to be whiting. And shrimp. But the shrimp have to be steamed or boiled. It cannot be breaded. Also, I have to reach for my EpiPen. So I cannot eat any kind of seafood at all. And if not, unless it's whiting or shrimp. Like I said, this shrimp has to be steamed or broiled. It has to be pink. Now, here's the thing I want to mention about that. I was here at a local restaurant about a year and a half ago, and they sell a lot of fish. So I was just messing around with the manager, because I like to mess around. But at the same time, I was being serious. I'm messing around with it, but I'm being serious at the same time. And so I said, Miss Manager, if I'd have came in here and told you I was allergic to fish, would you have served me? She said, no. And I'm glad you told me, because from now on, I will not be serving you. I said, why did I open my big mouth? But at that time, I pointed out to her a sign that was over the entrance, both sides of the door, that she never noticed. I know she got that sign up that says, be aware of allergens and particular particles in this food, MSG. And she said, you know what? I never knew that was up there. That's because it's above everybody's head, which should be down eye level. And now that she noticed it, she had to lower it down. And now when you go in there, it's at the front register, so everybody can see it.
Wow, Dr. Glenn. And it also says here that you have iodine allergies, latex
Oh yeah.
too.
Well, let me tell you about the latex first, then the iodine. We might have to come back up to the break, but latex, I don't think it's the actual rubber or plastic. It's just the powder that they used to put in the gloves, which they stopped doing. Now, when you go to the doctor, they have nitrile gloves that contains no powder, and it's not latex. And how I found out this, because I used to go to a department store. They have a machine blowing up balloons, the same emitting thing that is emitting in the air from blowing up the balloons was the powder that's been injected into the balloons, and that's latex. Now, we're going to get you a document on iodine after the break because there's going to be a lot of information on that. Iodine is very, very harmful for some people. You'll notice that. I remember one time I had to go for a CAT scan. I told the technician I was allergic to iodine, and plus she saw it on my chart. So she had this uh, syringes and, and a couple of vials laid out until another nurse walked and say, hey, why is these on the table? They're protected by the Food and Drug Administration. They shouldn't be not later. Well, he's allergic to this and that. So I'm just getting prepared in case he go into an episode. But we're going to reach on more information on the other side of the break because I think that's important. As my goals look for the document, we're going to talk about iodine, how it extremely affects people. It could be a simple medical procedure, but if you're allergic, you got to take a precaution. This is 107.5 FM, Awesome Radio. Back in a moment, ladies and gentlemen.
Keep it locked right here to the Glenn Johnson Show.
Hi, my name is Tracy. Thank you for listening to Awesome Radio 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivations with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams. This is Awesome Radio, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU, Winterville, Greenville, North Carolina. Now back over to my co-host, Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams.
Yes, we're going to talk a little bit about iodine sensitivity or being allergic to iodine. And it said here that immediately you would know if you were allergic to iodine. And most times when you go to have a procedure, they'll ask you if you know if you are allergic to iodine. They'll ask you right up front, if you have an iodine allergy. So it says it would be an immediate response to iodine on the skin or iodine injected in a contrast dye to take a better x-ray. And so you would know right away. A patient might show very labored breathing, so immediately you would begin to react to it. Labored breathing, tongue and throat might swell, and treatment as an injection with epinephrine to stop the histamine reaction. So you would have to definitely be treated right away for it, and you would know right away, especially if that is injected directly into your body. And it says one of the reasons people feel that they may have an iodine allergy is if they are allergic to shellfish or simply fish. Both shellfish and other fish are a rich source of iodine, but often those allergic are not responding to the iodine in the fish.
And that's why I'm allergic to seafood because of the iodine content. But what I want to point out during this part is that this is why I'm so glad my medical sources, my medical team that I frequent, uh, my chart follows me. So I'm in the physician East system. So no matter what doctor I go see, as long as in the physicians East network, they know my medical history, my medications, my allergies, and everything is sitting right there. But now what I want you to mention is, if you go to the second page, you'll see there was a gentleman. He had a CT scan in 2007 with dye. It was a dye that it was injected. That dye had iodine in it, and it nearly killed him. He said, "You see that on the second page?"
Yes. It says that I had a CT scan in 2007 with dye. It nearly killed me. About an hour after they were done, my wife rushed me to the hospital as I had started having trouble breathing. I was on steroids and a Benadryl for 10 days. The rash and hives did not go away until around 8 days. So he knew within an hour that he was having trouble breathing. He knew that he was allergic to it. It also says here that those that are allergic to shellfish and fish and those type of things they have a slightly increased risk of iodine allergy.
Yeah, and sometimes it could just be a minute contact with the iodine or the seafood. I'll give you one example. I was security supervisor at a I would say posh hotel. It was on the resort style hotel, Long Branch, New Jersey, and we got a call to come immediately to the dining area because a lady had an allergic reaction to something. So when I got there, I said, "Well, ma'am, first of all," and I told her husband, I said, "I'm the security supervisor. I just want to tell you, it is illegal for us to give you any kind of medication or substance or anything. So what I suggest is, make an immediate trip to the ER or have your husband go out to the store prior to you getting to the hospital and get some Benadryl. But anyway, I want you to seek medical attention in the emergency room." And what had happened was she was eating off of a plate that originally contained the seafood. So just that minute contact with the seafood being on the plate prior to being dishwashed, of course, but it was still made contact with her. And that's how she got sick and got a allergic reaction from the contents previously that was on the plate.
Definitely a food allergy. And there's a lot of people that have different food allergies. I've seen some very different ones. Um, One lady, it was allergic to chicken. And I thought there can't be anybody in the world that's allergic to chicken. But she was allergic to chicken, raw, cooked, whatever. She was allergic to chicken. And I know personally a person that's allergic to citrus. So, and she works in a public place, and I've seen her protect herself to make sure that if anybody had anything citrus, that she would leave the room, and because her throat would close up.
And since I have allergies and visit allergy specialists all the time, I know, and from working at a hospital, I know a young man that's allergic to everything known to man. He's even allergic to water. And our bodies contain 99% or 98% water. But they say it's not actually the water, it's the chemical makeup of the water, the chlorine or something of that nature. And to this day, I don't even think he drinks spring water. I don't think he drinks any water at all. But he's alive, survived. He's alive, to my knowledge.
Wow, I've never met anybody allergic to water. We have to bathe and stuff. So how does he live? Baby wipes?
Probably so.
Okay, I'm just asking.
He
I
might
know
even be
there's
allergic to
ways.
that because of the alcohol content of the baby wipe.
Oh yeah, so I know that would be a very difficult allergy to have, be allergic to water. I've never heard of anybody allergic to water.
All
But
right, but speaking of the food allergy, like I said, I'm allergic to nuts, except for peanuts. But I know some people allergic to peanuts itself, like my nephew and my grandson. They are so allergic to peanuts, they cannot be around it. My grandson, it will kill him instantly. Now, to make one more point about the peanuts is, when I worked at the hospital at the Jersey Shore, we had found out this young man died because his girlfriend ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. He was so allergic to peanuts and peanut butter. She kissed him hours and hours and hours later, but still, just that minute contact killed him instantly.
definitely, when people are allergic to particular things, they have to protect themselves and also inform everyone around them that they cannot have those particular things. Wheat allergies is another one, and dairy allergies. There's a
Yeah,
lot of people that are allergic to milk or dairy and dairy products, and they have to watch because that milk will tear up their stomach.
and there's one other thing I'll mention before we go to the break, because we'll be back with our final 10 minutes, is that I know all the things I'm allergic to, and I try to avoid every last one of them as much as possible. Therefore, to alleviate taking some of these medications or have to inject myself with that EpiPen, because Lord knows I don't want to inject myself with that EpiPen, although I have it. But ever since my brother's girlfriend told me how her relative injected herself with the EpiPen, and she could see her heart beating through her shirt. It does because it's pure adrenaline, pure sugar.
Definitely. And Dr. Glenn, one of the things it says here about indoor allergies is that indoor allergies can be caused by animal danger and dust mites.
Yeah,
I didn't think I know that dust mites don't live everywhere. I have to look it up and see. I did know at one time what area they live in, but a lot of places don't. And I'm talking about geographically where you live. It could mean that there are no dust mites, but then there's other places there are dust mites. But it also said here too, dust mites, mold, and cockroaches.
yeah.
I think I'm allergic to cockroaches. I have to be.
And let me just mention before we go to the break, do have a chat in the chat box from Stella Little. It says, awesome show, Dr. Glenn and Apostle Williams. I deal with allergies every day, mainly chemical allergies, but also now black pepper seasoning, salt, praying that seafood doesn't become a problem. I pray to God for her that the seafood doesn't become a problem as well, like myself. We have 20 seconds before we go to the break. Apostle.
Yes, we want you to come on right back here. We're going to talk some more, and we have a few more things to give you about allergies on our show today. And we still invite you to call in. Our number is 252-756-2008. You can call in and be live on the show with us, or you can catch us while we're live on Facebook. Leave us some comments. We're looking forward to hear from you. This is Awesome
In the
Radio.
beginning, the moon was created.
My name is Jayla, and you're to see to my papa, Glenn Johnson, on the radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Awesome Radio, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU. You are still tuned into the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivations with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams. I would like to invite a listener to call in, Miss Stella Little, who just gave us a comment on StreamYard. if you can call in, I would love to hear more about what what you just chatted about. So the number to call is 252-756-2008. Ms. Little, we are standing by, waiting for your call. Apostle.
Yes, I looked and she said that black pepper was something that she was allergic to. Now that's another one that I never met anybody that was allergic to black pepper. And so we're actually glad to hear from her today. What a unique allergy, because everybody uses salt and pepper, right? And
No,
no.
I don't use salt or pepper. I don't like seasoning on none of my food. I like to eat my food bland.
Dr. Glenn, I'm finding out too many things going on today that are just different.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like salt, pepper, hot sauce, ketchup, none of that stuff. I don't. I like to eat my food in its natural form because if you realize food has its own natural seasoning, if you leave that stuff alone, you'll find out your food will taste a lot better. If you stop using that salt and pepper and just use the natural flavor of the food, you'll find out it's more tasteful.
I don't know, Dr. Glenn. I cannot agree with you on that one.
That's because you're used to using all these seasonings.
Last week, my husband made some spaghetti. I'm just tell you this, and he made the spaghetti. I tasted it, and I was like, "What's going on here? There's something missing here. It's okay, but it is not good." And then I found out we didn't have any salt, and I'm thinking, so you just went ahead and cooked it like nothing's going on. We need that salt in that food. Salt makes everything taste better.
But did you have tomato sauce on the spaghetti?
We had tomato sauce on it. It
I
had
just
garlic.
imagine how much salt is in that tomato sauce.
It had garlic and everything else in
And
there.
the garlic too.
And
that's
it
enough
was
seasoning.
very flavorful.
Apostle,
but it was still something missing.
Apostle, there was nothing missing. That's just you and all the stuff you used to.
I'm sorry.
But I'll tell you absolutely what was missing. You was missing grilled shrimp. I love grilled shrimp on my spaghetti and meatballs.
Salt was even back in the Bible days, Dr. Glenn. I mean, salt was an offering to the Lord. I mean, the Lord likes salt. So why can't we like salt? Now, we don't need to overindulge in it, but salt makes everything taste better. The Bible says that we are the salt of the earth.
Well, I disagree.
So it uses salt, that our words need to be graced, seasoned with salt. I mean, salt is a great comparison, and I'm just sorry you need a little salt sometimes.
Now, I did not say I didn't like it. I said I just don't use it. I don't put salt or pepper, any of that stuff on my food, and particularly salt, because I do have high blood pressure. The number one thing that would run your blood pressure up is salt.
Well, Dr. Glenn, I'm just going to tell you this. I'm not coming to your house for nothing to eat, okay? Thanksgiving, don't invite me. I need some salt on my turkey.
All right, but wait a minute. You just mentioned that. Now you might be off. Now you might be making an awful mistake, because one thing I can do is I can burn when it comes to baking a turkey. I know how to burn with a turkey.
So what do you season the food with if you don't use salt?
I don't use nothing.
And you just had a naked turkey there?
Yeah.
Okay, no, Dr. Glenn, that ain't no good turkey.
Yes, it is.
Because you need some salt.
Because if you do it right, you won't need all that stuff. And here's a good way to bake a turkey. Like, people put on a basting and stuff on the top of the turkey with their little basting brush and all that stuff. That's not the proper way. You have to go under the skin. You put all your herbs and spices, if you use them, under the skin. That way it bakes inside, not on the outside. It bakes inside, and the meat absorbs it. So when you cut into it, now it's juicy and flavorful and delicious.
Oh yeah,
you don't need to put nothing else on it.
I'm sure when we taste that meat without no salt on it, we know something's different. Like, what's wrong with this meat? That we be looking and saying something's missing.
What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? It was missing. It don't have all that stuff on it that you normally put on it.
Oh yeah, well, I like some salt and some seasoning salt and some garlic.
But what I'm telling you is, all right, we have 4 minutes. What I'm trying to explain to you is, and I hope you get eat to this, is try and use some of your food without it for a change, and see how satisfied you would be, and then get back to me on it.
Well, I'm just like to live, Dr. Glenn, and enjoy life, and I'm living my best life right now with some salt and pepper. and some seasoning and some garlic and some different things. And I know once you get used to a thing and not doing it, then you don't miss it.
A couple of times when I lived in Philadelphia, I would go to the restaurant, order a thing of chicken wings. First thing they put on it, salt, pepper, ketchup, and hot sauce. I told that one attendant, I said, hey, what are you doing? He said, you don't like? I said, no, I like. I didn't ask for that stuff. I don't use salt, pepper, ketchup, and hot sauce. I said, I know what the problem is. You just stereotyping. You just think every black person that comes to your restaurant, that's what they order. I don't eat my food that way. So take the whole order back. And you have to take it back. Because I'm the customer. The customer is always right. One more instance. I was at another restaurant, ordered a lamb, they had roasted lamb. And the roasted lamb came with these, with the greens. But what do? They put almonds in the greens and then the sweet potato souffle. I had to send the whole dish back because now my plate was contaminated because of the almonds. So they had to make it all fresh and send it back out to me.
Oh, wow. And you did say you were allergic to nuts.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that every nut?
Except
for peanuts.
Except for peanuts.
Okay, I remember you saying that. Did you tell us about your younger brother and what happened with him?
Yeah, he's the one with the scented fragrances when he used those when he used those plug-in air fresheners.
And the man with the baby at the hospital?
Man, this guy came into the hospital one time, happened to be in the emergency room. The baby is hysterical. This was a Muslim gentleman. And you know, the Muslims in the area I was living in, they like to wear them oils and stuff. Very high powering. You could smell them coming in the door a mile away. So I knew what the baby was going through. Because, like I said, I'm allergic to scents and fragrances. As soon as he walked in, it started attacking me. I said to myself, I know what's wrong with that baby. They bring that baby to the hospital thinking the baby is sick from something natural. But the baby probably was trying to express, I just don't want to smell on the oils you have on. But the baby don't know how to express it yet. He's a baby.
Definitely. Children can be very sensitive to smells and different things.
Yeah.
And that's when they start the allergies. We often start it when we're very young. I'm allergic to crab meat and lobster. But I still like it sometimes. And, I'll hit a Benadryl after I eat it. And then, I'll eat it anyways because I do like it sometimes. I like seafood.
Now, before we go to break and go to the last 10 minutes, this is it. All right, so we'll be done in a minute. But number one thing that I'm allergic to is my ex-wife.
Wow, Dr. Glenn. See, that's what I said. I know that I needed to speak on that people are thinking they're coming home and getting a headache from the spouse, and it's nothing to do with that. It's the perfumes and the smells that are in the house.
And that's the only reason why I said that, because I knew you was going to comment on it.
Dr. Glenn, I'd love to meet her. And you probably chased her off without putting any salt on the food. I'm sure that was the biggest problem in the marriage.
No, she could burn. But now she's married. Now she's married, remarried, married somebody else, so I don't have to worry about it. But she is an excellent cook, I got to tell you.
That's awesome, Dr. Glenn. And so we're glad that you cleared that up for us.
And we'll be back with part 2 next week. We have some more documentation to get to you that we wouldn't get to today. And Apostle Jacqueline Cullins will take us out to today's broadcast.
Yes, we're glad that you were on with us today. We got a couple of good jokes in here on Dr. Glenn today. And I found out some things that I didn't know that I'm going to keep in my memory and use at another time. We hope that we gave you some good information today, and we're asking you to come back next week so we can do a part 2 on allergies and the causes.
And maybe we can have our chat person, Stella Little, call in next week for part 2